Mother Fiction Writers podcast. I'm Stevie. You can find me at Escapes to Books on Instagram.
And I'm Stacey, and you can find me at Stacey Marriott _writes on Instagram.
We'll probably put those in the links below for those of you that are watching on YouTube. I don't know how it works on podcasts, so
Yeah, me either.
but we can edit that part out, right? But we're
Or we
here.
can leave it and everyone can laugh at us.
I know.
It's fine.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. We're just here to talk about ourselves, I guess, today. About writing. And we're both writers. And so we thought this would be fun to kind of do a podcast and um, share our information, our stories, our journeys with you guys. Um, and just talk. That's mainly why we're here. We're here to talk.
Yep. We do that really well.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we got to know each other first on what, 2 years, over 2 years ago, kind
On
of just
Instagram.
from, yeah, Instagram, Bookstagram community, and just kind of started doing some buddy reads together. And I found her videos hilarious, and I instantly was like, we got to be friends because you're funny.
Well, I'm glad you think so because I feel like a cheese ball.
Yeah, but otherwise, I mean, it is. We are cheese balls. That's the whole point of
Yeah,
this.
a little.
Have fun. But yeah. Otherwise, anyways, I don't know what else to say because I want to quit acting like that.
You got into like a radio character. It was so good. You're like, I'm stuck. Somebody help me. I'm just sitting here letting you talk. I'm like, yep, we're good at talking. I'm gonna let her do all of it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But I thought it would be fun. It was to ask each other some questions and just jump into some writing questions and bookish. I think I have a couple bookish questions for you today.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I have a couple for you too.
but the fun thing about this, at least the fun thing in my mind, I thought, was that neither one of us know what the questions are from each other. So these will be just out of the blue, right off our heads kind of answers for you guys to get to know us and us to get to know each other even better, I guess, too. So I'll let you go first.
Oh, you're gonna let me go first?
I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, so my question to you is gonna be, what when you start reading, what lets you know that it's gonna be a good book?
Honestly, it's like the first. I know this is super cheesy because I feel like as a writer, everyone always says you want to hook them with that first line, you know?
Yes.
I feel like I can tell by that first line the tone of things.
Yes.
Not that it's like a make or break it every time, but I can tell like this is really, I'm already here. I'm in for it. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
I
That
agree with that. I always like too, like a really big like opening scene, like they're burying a body
yeah.
or there's like
I
a
could
big secret right at the beginning and you're like, oh, holy crap, like this is gonna be
Right, it just dives
intense.
you right in. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
one that I could talk about, I don't know if you've read this one, but Vicious by V.E. Schwab. That's
I have not read that one.
he's literally like burying you, it gives you Frankenstein vibes, like
Yeah.
digging up a body, you know. Of course you don't find out what's going on till later on, but you just are like immediately like, whoa, this is what's happening. Or another one I can think of, did you ever read like House of Night series? By
No,
PC
I don't think
Cat.
I've read that one either.
Well, it starts off by being like the dead guy was staring at me or something, or found me. Something like that is like the first line.
Yes.
And it just makes you be
Yes.
like, okay, this is going to be good. Like those
Yes.
kind of lines. But I
Yep.
know people love the Red Rising series too. And that's one of my favorite. I've actually only, I can't say I've finished the series, but um that line says, I could have lived in peace, but my enemies brought me war. And I'm like, that's super good too. Like now I'm just
Yeah.
hooked on the book. And that was a great book. I just haven't, I'm horrible at finishing series.
Yes. I love that. a good answer.
What
I mean,
about
there's
you?
no wrong answer, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but CM Snooch, her like Payback Princess, the daughter of a serial killer or whatever series, she starts her books with the end scene.
Oh,
So
cool.
like in
Okay.
one of them, they're jumping a wall to, I won't like give any spoilers away, but they're jumping a wall to get like to rescue someone. And like the whole time you're like, who are they rescuing? Like where are they going? Or
Trying to
like
figure it out.
the beginning of the first book, they're putting somebody in a box.
Okay,
So you're
I
like,
like that.
holy crap, yeah.
Right. That is a good.
I
That's
don't
a good way to hook
I'm
someone.
probably saying her name totally wrong, Seam Stoonch, but it's literally spelled Stunicch. I feel like
Yeah.
it's probably close. I don't know. But
I
I like
will
her. I
butcher
love her stuff.
everybody's names, and if I say someone's name,
People
I
will correct me. Everyone, if I'm saying it wrong, you can just tell me. Just
right.
it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yell at us and tell us we're
But I
wrong.
love her. I absolutely love her.
So, do you want to go on with another question, or you want me to ask a
You can
question?
ask me a question, yeah.
Okay. I gotta look again. I wrote mine down like a
Okay.
big nerd. Um. Okay. So this is more of like a writing question for you. But what genre do you usually find like inspiration from? Like if you're reading in that genre, you're like, oh yeah,
Um, Most of the time it's dark romance. I mean, because that's pretty much what I write, but I can almost find inspiration in anything, even like song lyrics. Like
right,
there are certain bands like Motionless in White and Sleep Token and Corpse Husband and like people like that that I'll listen to, and they'll say something and it just triggers me. I'm
yeah,
like, oh my God. Like I'll see like a whole like scene play out before me. But there are sometimes when I'm reading a book where I'm like, it'll like unlock something or I'm like, oh, that's kind of a good idea. But most of the time I find it in music. Like, not saying that I don't find inspiration in reading, because of course, to be a better writer, you have to be a good reader. But like a lot of times, like I said, like I'll be listening to a song and like, okay, so for Enemy, Bury Me Face Down
yeah.
is by is that by Grandson, I think? I
I
can't
am
remember.
horrible at band names,
Hold
but I
on, let
know
me look it up so I don't get it wrong. It'll take me like 2 seconds, but I don't want to not give the band credit.
credit. Yeah.
Yeah. Bury Me Face Down.
No, but that's what
Yeah,
I
Grandson. It's
100%.
by Grandson. So the reason why I liked Bury Me Face Down is because like back in myth is that when you bury a vampire, it's best to bury them face down
Yeah.
because they if they try to claw their way out, they just keep clawing their way into dirt.
Well, that's what they use.
So
That's
I
where stakes came from too. They'd stake them in, make sure they can't move.
yes. So when I heard that song, I could see like all of Ace's part. I was like, "Oh my God, this is his theme song. Like it's perfect."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. No, I 100% believe that music is such a key to creativity, you know? It's such
Yeah.
a I listen to it every morning because it just gets me. It's kind of like coffee. Gets me going in the day anyways,
Yes.
but then it also gets me in the mindset for the scene I'm going to write or the character. There's a certain song that
I
like you
agree.
were saying. Yeah.
Or like when I'm writing a villain, like when I'm in like my dark, like I listen to really moody, like angsty kind of music to kind of help me. Because I feel like when you write like in a bad person, like it's kind of almost hard because it's draining. So
Yeah.
you need that extra motivation, like that extra boost to keep going. Not to get like on a music tangent, but
No, no,
it
that's fine. No,
helps. It
I actually
literally
like that.
helps.
Yeah. No, I like that because it does mean so much to me too. Like I've learned the deeper into my work in progresses that I get, the more specific my playlists will get, like songs that I specifically listen to.
Yes.
So like when I'm first starting like a work in progress, it could just be I've got one that just says writing inspo. But then
Yes.
I'll start pulling songs and being like this one specifically for this work in progress, you know?
Right. Yeah, and I make like there's always like a playlist to my book. So like by the time the book is finished, as a matter of fact, I have to be careful, not that it gives anything away, but sometimes my Apple will just post my playlists. So like I try not to be specific with the titles. So they're just like little until it's the book is
Oh,
finished, and I
right.
put the
Hmm.
title and then it comes with. But I always like when I'm sitting there like listening to a song, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see this with these two characters. Like it'll make me like Ash Nikio and Upshaw will always be Cass and Dark Side for me.
Oh,
The
perfect.
my
Yeah.
the Dark Side book because I just use them so much. Ash
Yeah.
Nikio and Upshaw. Like I will just always think of Cass and Ash and all of them because of I listened to them a lot while I wrote that. Just like for Enemy, I listen to Bad Omens a lot. So whenever I hear Bad Omens, I think of Enemy. So it's just kind of fun and cool.
Well, and that's why I guess that's where like Spotify is pretty cool because I love that like before Spotify, I feel like we never were able to be like, oh, this is a specific song, but then go to like that song's radio and just kind of like hone in on that vibe, that feel that
Yeah.
you're
My
going.
goal, I'm glad that you brought that up because like my goal is to post the playlist on Spotify as well. Because I've just been using Apple and I like started thinking about it. I was like, not everyone has Apple Music. Like
Yeah.
I just have it because that's what I listen to and like when I go to work out and I'm on a family plan. So it works out for us. But I'm like, I need to do something that everyone can use too. So
Right.
like
Because
I need to make two. It's just I get lazy, but I have all of them, so I'll probably go back and do that at some
where
point.
mine's all on Spotify,
Yeah.
where even though I've got like an Apple phone and stuff like that, it's always Spotify because I actually listen to music more on my pads and then Bluetooth,
Yeah.
crank it loud.
Yeah. That makes
That's
sense.
my yeah. So then it's just Spotify, mostly for us, but I don't ever share it. But that was something I've thought about doing, like when I actually have a book out there.
Yeah.
I would like to
It's
like
come
learn
it's
how to create
coming.
a
You
playlist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like too it like gives your readers something. Like not saying like I have a bunch of readers cuz but I'm just saying like
You should.
for
Dark Side
me,
is really good.
well, thank you. But like for me when I'm listening to a song like if an artist, okay, so for example, the Twisted Sisters who I love so much, for the Psycho, I think it's like Death Club. I'm probably butchering all of this, but Nil in Brooklyn, like he picks her up and spins her around to the song Teeth by 5 Seconds of
Oh
Summer.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
every time I listen to that song, I think of them.
That's what you think of. Oh, I
Yeah.
love
So
it.
like it gives them something like to like make them think about the book, you know? Like it
Right.
like I mean, a really good book, you'll think about it regardless. But I'm just saying, like sometimes I'll hear a song and I'm like, oh, I'm thinking or like Gasoline. That one I can't remember who that's by, but that one was also in that that duet that they wrote. So that was such a good one because it was like Harley Quinn and Joker vibes,
Okay.
and
I
it was
feel
a
like I
reverse therapy.
know. I don't know. I feel like I know. That's why I'm so bad unless I'm really bad at band names. But usually titles, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's also so many songs where they're like the same title as another song. And so
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, so you're thinking of that one. I was thinking of something totally different.
yeah, yeah. I get that.
But no, I like that I like that we jumped from book genre to music genre. I like that because I agree with that. But I'll let you then ask another question.
Okay, so then my other question is like, what is one of your biggest pet peeves as a reader?
As a reader, that's hard because I feel like I don't know unless I'm in the zone. I guess maybe because I'm like old now. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be 35 in like a week. Um,
you're
it's
not.
really
Stop. I'm 37. Wait a minute. Well, I'll be 37 in May. But
oh, we're like the same age. I like
yeah.
that. Um, but for me anymore, I mean, it's not, and I can't specifically just say it's like YA because I still like YA, But like
Yeah.
if it's gonna be like a 16, I can't really, unless it's that they're gonna age up or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just can't get in that zone. So I don't know if that's a pet peeve or like a preference or
Yeah.
what.
No, I
But
get it.
otherwise, and then sometimes if people, that's why for my writing, I'll like send to you or send to someone and be like, am I repeating myself too much? Because
Yeah.
sometimes there's books where it's like,
Repeats itself. I quit a book
too
because of
much.
that. I was like, I already knew, not in a mean way, but like, you already said this, all of this, and you're saying it again.
Yeah, and it's like I get why sometimes there is repetitiveness. Sometimes it fits in and it really goes well and it's part of the story.
Right.
And other times it's just like, are you just throwing it in because it's a good line? I don't know.
Right.
Like
One of
that,
the things, like, okay, I do this sometimes as a writer, so, but I don't like when they skip ahead a lot. Like, so for instance, there was a book that I read and the love interests separate, and I think like 9 years go by.
Yeah.
And you're like, and the reason that they separated, I was like, we missed 9 years. And the reason they separated didn't seem so valid, you know?
Yeah. So
I'm
it's
like, I
like,
want that time. Like,
right,
give
give
me
me a
all the,
little bit of that. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I want, or if you're like, it's been 2 months, you're like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah, where did that go? Yeah, no, I've fallen into that trap too, where there's been like from book one to book two, all of a sudden it literally starts where they're like, and 3 months later, and now all of a sudden these people hate each other, and you're like, what? But where
Yeah,
did it happen? Like,
yeah.
where? Give me at least a couple of glimpses
I
into
wanted
those
to be there for that. Yeah.
into that months of
And I do that. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes when I'm writing, I'm like the week went by because I get it. It can be monotonous when they're like
right,
going to school or
and
something.
sometimes
Like,
it doesn't. Yeah,
yeah, you
sometimes
don't want to just not add to the story and have them go into school every day. But
yeah.
like months and years, I'm like, hold on, wait.
I know. Like, wait, like I need time to process what's going
Yeah, like
on.
come on, come back.
Yeah,
But
I feel like a week's time or even like a couple weeks is okay. Depending, and some stories just that's how they flow. They're weeks. That's
yeah,
from this scene to that scene. And so
there's
you kind
some
of get
authors that
used
are
to
talented and can make a whole book that's like 800 pages and really like not even a month has passed.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, wow, like I didn't even realize that we're just like a month in, you know? But
Yeah. Pacing is hard. Pacing is hard in
it
general.
is.
So it's like, yeah, where do you find I'm constantly struggling with that in my writing, finding the
Same.
pacing and like, is this too quick? This person hasn't even slept in days. Like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
same. I'm always like, should I make them take a shower or like use the restroom?
Right.
But
I
I try
know.
to like I feel like those are monotonous tasks. Like you
Yeah.
just assume, right?
Right.
You know?
Especially the restroom. I think we all
Yeah.
have those
I feel like
feelings
it's different than
about
what we
it.
were talking about yesterday, like how you want to make sure like if somebody's holding on to something, like how my character had ice cream and they didn't
Yeah.
put it in the freezer and I'm like, "Wait a minute, no." Like she needs to put the ice cream in the freezer because you'll think about it. But I feel like going to the bathroom, you don't
Yeah.
really think
It's
about.
something that's just
But
like,
yeah, like you feel like,
yeah.
you know,
You don't need to explain that, oh, for the third time today they went to the restroom.
yeah, I tend to make my character shower too much. Like
Yeah.
in Big Bad Wolf, she gets up and she showers, but she works at a bar.
Mm.
So I felt like
Yeah.
the second
So it
shower
could
was
be just like her thing.
necessary.
And some people are
Yeah.
like that, where you're like, that's their thing. They got to be clean. And it's
Yeah.
like, throw that in there. Plus, then you're throwing in like, there's a good chance for some tension going on with
Yeah.
showers.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe that's just where my mind goes. I don't
I
know.
like it.
But
Um,
yeah, no, I get that. No, was that my question or your
it was
question? I don't
mine. It was the pet peeve.
know. Oh, that's right. Pet peeve. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll probably think about it tomorrow. I'll be reading a book and be like, oh, this
You
is
know
a
what?
I know.
And then we can just talk about it next time. We
Yeah. No, most of the time I don't though, because I try not to like criticize as I'm
Oh
reading.
yeah. Yeah.
But there are some things, like I said, I think it's just me being older now and a preference thing.
Yeah,
Like
and there's some
I
things
used
that you just
like,
can't help that you just, like repeated information. I think that's kind of a wide Oh, I think a lot of people don't like repeated information.
Yeah, and it won't necessarily make me be like, "Oh, I'm done with this book," but it might make me be like, "Okay, let's move
Yeah,
on.
you just kind of
Here's
skim past
this."
it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I keep going. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. What um oh, what does a normal writing day kind of look like for you? And do you write every day?
Oh, you're gonna find this so messy. Because everything I do is not organized at all. I am not an organized person that like has like a set time for anything. So like if I get up and like the story is fresh on my mind and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna like write in this book today. So like I'll sit down and I'll write in that book. And then the scene to the next book might come to me or my other working project and then I'll write in it and I just can continue my day like that. So
Yeah.
like I might spend 15 minutes in the morning and then 3 hours in the afternoon and then an hour at night. It just
I like that.
depends. But
Yeah.
I am currently, I feel bad, but a lot of people are waiting, not a lot of people, but like I think there's like 40
A
people
lot of
on
people are waiting.
40 people on Inkit that are waiting for me to update Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm just trying to make sure because Disappeared comes out in April. I'm just trying to like, not that I'm like dropping that, like, you know
Go
what?
ahead, drop
but,
her books. You
but
should
I'm
read
just
them
like,
all.
I'm trying to keep my focus on that because I'm editing. And then I am working on Axel and Demons. So I'm like, I am going to get to Big Bad Wolf, but like, Big Bad Wolf is going to be finished like by the end of this week or the end of next week.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah.
like, but yeah, I just write whatever I'm like filling. And I kind of like, I have to admit that sometimes if the scene feels intimidating, I put it off for a while.
Yeah.
Like Big Bad Wolf, because it's coming to a close and I know that it's going to be intense. Like
You
in
gotta
my
be
mind,
like
I'm
in
kind
the
of like
right
pushing it.
headspace.
Yeah, especially because I just finished writing Disappeared and that ended like with a lot of things going on. So it's just kind of like letting my brain chill for a minute and write the
Right.
fun, lovey stuff that I want to write and then going into that. but
Yeah.
or like big characters like I'm not saying this for people that haven't read Dark Side so they won't know, but like for Beatrice, she's a character that drains me. And because
Oh,
this is a crossover between Dark Side, Big Bad Wolf 1.5 and then Demons being 2, she is in Big Bad Wolf.
okay.
And
Okay.
she's kind of in it a little bit more. And if you haven't read Dark Side, you don't know who she is. You're just like,
Right. Might throw you
right.
off. Yeah.
But like while I'm writing her, I'm like, oh God, here we go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's so
That's
stupid because
funny.
they're not real, but like to
No,
me,
but
it's
they
draining.
but it's
Like,
almost yeah, and it's almost even more so because they're real kind of to us, but we like we created them. So like
yeah,
when you are sitting down, you are literally in that mindset of like, I am that person right now
yeah.
because
And like big personalities can just be, I mean, Ash was draining and he
yeah.
wasn't even really necessarily a bad guy, but he's like a big
No, he's
asshole.
like, yeah,
He's a jerk.
he's in your
I
face
mean, if
and
you're on his side, he's not going to
intense.
be a jerk to you, but
Yeah.
like he's a jerk to everyone else. So it's just like he was just a big personalities are hard to write. They're fun,
Right.
but they're draining.
Oh yeah.
But that's my answer. I am just scattered with my writing. Like I don't really have, like I don't just like pick a slot and just stick
Right.
with
Like,
it.
oh, it's 10 o'clock
And I
time to
feel like
read.
if I do that, my creativity dies. Like if I'm
Yeah.
like at 10 o'clock, I'm gonna write. Because then I
Yeah.
sit down at 10 o'clock and I'm like,
And
well,
you're like, nothing's here.
yeah,
Can't do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But if I'm like throughout the day, if like little things come to me, I'll put them in my notes and then I'll add them into the chapter. Like I'll write it out and then I'll add what I wrote later into it. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense, but
Well, I'm a lot like that though too, because for me it's more just trying to carve the time out, trying to find the time. So I have definitely gotten better. For the longest time, I would just be like, oh, I just don't have the time. I don't have the time, not making the time for it. And but ever since like fall around like early September time, I really was like, if I keep doing this, if I keep being like, oh, tomorrow, oh, I just don't have the time, then I will never finish anything. And I will always be like,
yeah, same.
me- nothing will ever get done. So
Yeah.
finally, I was like, I have to at least, I don't care what time of day it is, I have to carve out at least an hour. Or it started with like just 20, I always say 25-minute sprints because that's something that's really quick. I can get about at least 500, 600 words out usually. And that's a
Right.
good solid start. And a lot of times too, if I can just get that much out, then later in the night, I want to be like, let's continue that because that was fun. That was a
Right.
fun
Yeah.
sprint. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like that too. Very all over the place. And you definitely though make a lot more time for your writing, which I love that. I don't know how many times
I'm
you've
a stay-at-home
it's
mom though. Like I I take care of my son and that's really it. So it's not like, I'm this
yeah,
like doing something all day every day. So it gives me like the opportunity, which I'm thankful for. So thankful that my
yeah,
husband like is supportive of that. Um but yeah, like I'm not like, oh, I'm writing whenever I feel like it. I just
No, I do, but you're like so good at just being like, I'm really in the zone right now. I'm gonna hone in on that and get it done.
there are some
I
times
love
when
it.
I'm writing and I'm sure this has happened to you before, but there are some times that I get so in the zone where it's almost like my brain isn't really even thinking about it. Like I
Yeah,
am
you're
just
just
like
going.
in the world and like by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been writing for 2 hours. I'm
Yeah,
like, I got this many words done. This is insane. Like,
right. That's been happening a lot. Actually, that's how I was in Nano Rimo month. I was like 2,000, 3,000 words every day and was just like, I look back now though, and that's why I'm in the mess I am. I'm like realizing, oh, I did finish this entire draft. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it's all over the place. And it's
right.
just like, I got to really put this together. So that's like where I am now. But I love getting in those zones. And there's sometimes where I'll be like talking to somebody and I'll send like a scene, and
Yeah,
then be like, I don't know if I'm just been staring too long and this makes no sense anymore.
that
Or
happens.
like you got to help me.
I always
Is
take
this
a break from
okay?
editing. Like sometimes I'll even wait till the next day to like go back through my edits because I'll think, wait, I think where sounds better than when. Or like, like
You just start
there.
nitpicking at everything and you're
Yeah,
just
I'm
like,
like, you know what? I think I kind of like the way this sounds better. Like like just coming at it with a fresh set of eyes because that just
right.
happens.
Mhm. Yeah,
But yeah, I think you asked me, right?
I think so.
So then my other one was gonna be what I don't know. I was gonna ask what you hate about writing, but I think we already established that because we both hate editing. I mean, come on. That's
Yeah,
everybody's least favorite part.
right. Like, so, well, honestly, it's not necessarily editing. I actually could probably say, as fun as the first drafts are,
Hmm.
first drafts sometimes are like honestly the worst because, especially for, we're both not really outline people. We're
Yeah.
very like pantser people.
Hmm.
And so sometimes there's times where I'm like, I really know this story and I know these characters. But then when I sit down, I'm like frustrated because it's not going well or this is not what
Yeah.
this person would
I
do.
noticed when I was doing some of my edits that like in the dialogue, like when they were talking to each other, like it answered questions kind of, but I'm like, that's not really a direct answer. Like the way that that was said just doesn't sound right. So I
Yeah,
spent a lot of time today making sure that the conversations were making
they were
sense.
being answered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, technically they were answers. Like my husband's like, no, that works. And I'm like, it works. But does it
But is
sound,
it what they would really
yeah.
say? Is
Like
it
is
enough?
does it sound right?
Yeah.
I feel bad because like I'm asking all the negative questions. What's your biggest pet peeve? What do you hate about writing? Like,
Hey,
welcome to
that's
our first
not part of it.
podcast.
And not everything is positive and rainbows
But
and
I just thought
sunshine.
I would
There's
ask like not normal questions.
Yeah,
Like
no, I like that.
of course we love writing. and
Yeah.
reading. That's why we're
But
here.
there's also so much headaches too to writing. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
something I don't think any writer would just be like, "Oh, everything it's so easy." Like, it's a lot of work and dedication and we do it. It's definitely one of those things kind of I feel like almost any creative person could really say this and maybe not. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like a creative, especially like writing, it's something you really have to enjoy and you
Oh
enjoy
yeah.
the characters
You'll
and
die. You'll die if you don't enjoy it. You just won't make it. Like not in a mean way. Like not saying that you can't be a writer and not enjoy it. Something I said as a hairstylist, because that's what I used to do as a teacher, and I really think that this is true. You have to love hair in order to stick with it. You do, because you don't make a lot of money off the
yeah.
bat as a hairdresser. You're just not like gonna be rich. So your passion has to keep driving you forward. And I really feel it's the same thing with writing. Like your passion for it is what keeps you, because there are days where people will say stuff like about my writing, and it's not always mean and it's not always meant to like hurt my feelings. And I know that everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I
Right.
appreciate that, and it's for the readers. But there are days where I'm like, I don't know. Like maybe this isn't meant for me. Like when I released Enemy, I had nightmares like that I was getting all these bad reviews and stuff, and I almost pulled it. Like I
Well,
was
you also had
so,
a lot going on during that book too, with losing your TikTok and stuff like that. So
yeah,
you
and I had like
like
such
were pretty
bad,
stressed.
my imposter syndrome like right before I release a book will sometimes get the better of me, because
I'm
like
sure
I
it's
start
also
reading something and I'm like, does this even make sense?
right.
Like, am I just gonna like, are people gonna get this? And like, I have people that have pre-ordered it, and I'm not like being like, people pre-ordered my book, but
Yeah.
like, that's the goal. But like, at the same time, you're like, I really hope that this is like, they really enjoy this, that I'm putting my best foot forward, and that they like don't spend their money on this and think, wow, this felt like a waste of time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but
so
I feel
like,
like
it's
we're
good,
all
but
of us
like,
I feel like every person who's going out there and buying a book and stuff like that, even if it's our favorite author and they've never let us down before, there's always like that kind of thing. Not every book's going to make us happy. And the same
that's
thing with
true.
our writing, too.
That's true.
Like,
I
it's
actually
going to
did have a
be,
couple books that I was looking forward to let me down. Not in a mean way, and I won't go on about it. But I just read them and was kind of like bummer, especially because
Mhm.
like I had been waiting months and months and months for them to release.
Yeah.
So it's like when it
Almost
finally
like you got
happened.
so hyped up, then you're like, oh, this wasn't exactly what I was hoping. But
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
they were still okay, but like it was just kind of like, And like
yeah,
you said, I mean, that's the same thing with like not so great reviews. Like if Jennifer like JLA is going to get a bad review and the Twisted Sisters are going to get a bad review, of course I'm going to get a bad review, especially as
yeah.
an indie author. And that's just what I try to remind myself, but
Well, and that's part of why I have nothing out there right now. Why I hold myself back is because I don't. It's not that no, I take criticism really well. I actually enjoy. That's why I'm always saying to you, and you're like reading my stuff. I'm like, don't be afraid to like hurt my feelings or say something.
but you are
But
an amazing writer. And that's the biggest problem is you're inside your head. It's
right,
like you're
well,
afraid. But you are so good.
but
And
I'm
I think
worried to
as
put
soon
it
as
out there, and
I think
then
when you start
everyone just
I
tears it
think
apart.
no, I think when you start releasing your short stories on Kindle Vella, I'm gonna make sure I say that right this time since we're recording. But I think that once you start putting those out there, you'll realize like you'll have enough people. I mean, I'm sure people are telling you besides me that you're a great writer, but like when you have confirmation from other people, it just like pushes you forward. Like even like
And
my Big Bad Wolf, like the thumbs up, like I'm not gonna get stinky with it, but like somewhere in the 40s of like of likes, and it just
mhm.
like makes me feel like, okay, 40 people like this story. Like I feel like that's good,
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah,
and I think the biggest criticism I got on that book is someone said they didn't like that it jumped around, and that's just because it's from
oh,
different point of views. A lot of people
yeah.
don't like different point of
Well,
views.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
and I
that's the
don't
thing
take that
too.
to heart because that's literally preference. Like sometimes I'm in a book and like it'll switch to a different point of view and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to know what this person's thinking. But
Right.
at the
Well,
same
and that's
time,
what
it's
I know.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, and sometimes it's like I love point of view books. They're some of my favorites. I love to write them too. But it's also like sometimes you're even when you know a particular scene's coming and stuff, you're like, I wish it was in someone else's point of view, not this person's point
yes,
of view.
yes,
You know,
yes,
it could literally just be the character. You're just like, I just don't care for this character and
yeah,
stuff. But yeah, but eventually I just well that's the thing is I didn't even let people I not even I can't even, let probably isn't the right word, but I didn't want to share my writing for so long because I was afraid that it would be like criticized or nitpicked or
yeah,
whatever. And because, well, I hid it for so long because I felt like, oh, that could never be a real job. That would never be a thing. And I don't have the time and stuff. And because I write fantasy and sexual kind of
right.
scenes
Well, you
and
know
stuff,
what?
I always
That was both of us in the beginning of our friendship because I was a hairstylist. That's like
yeah.
what I did
Mhm.
full time. I had Odd Affairs out, which don't, if you're watching this, don't go read it because it needs a lot of edits and it was my first ever. But like, I kind of just set the torch down. Like, after that was done, I was like, well, nobody read any of my stuff, like, just a couple friends. And so I was like, eh. And so I went back to hair. But like, there was always that calling like in the back of my
Yeah,
mind, like I want to go back to writing. Like I really, really miss it. But
right. Well, and
yeah,
that's something I don't have that question on here for you, but I think that could be something since this is supposed to be like we're saying, hey, this is us, welcome to our podcast. We can be like, what got us into writing? When did
yeah.
we start deciding? So I'll start with you. What like made you decide you want to write?
Okay. So I won't make this a super long story, but I, when I was younger, my grandma and grandpa pretty much helped raise me because my mom was working a lot. And so
Mhm.
they were always with me and my sister. And my grandma was very Southern. She'd say stuff like, by time. And my grandpa was Mexican and he would say things like dilute for delete and like trampoline
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And so like when I first had English like as a kid and even to 12th grade, like I had really um not a good experience. I had an English teacher tell me that my English was terrible and that like I was never gonna make it. He was like, you're just not gonna make it in the real world with the way you talk.
That's crazy.
And I just felt like overwhelmed by it. So when I ended up going to ICC because I was trying to get pregnant and couldn't. And so I was like, I need to think about something else because it had been 4.5 years that I like we were trying to have a kid and couldn't. So I went for criminal justice. I changed my mind like halfway through it, but I went for criminal justice and my English teacher wanted to talk to me after class. She was like, hey, I just want to talk to you after class. And I was thinking, crap. Like
Like
here we go with
today.
a lecture about my English. And I had good grades, so I was like just kind of wondering what it was going to be about. And she's like, I know this is going to be really weird. She's like, but I don't know if you've ever thought about creative writing. And I was like, what? And she's like, creative writing. And I was like, what? Like I didn't really understand. She's like where you write books and stuff. And I was like, me? Like write a
Yeah.
book? And so I thought that was kind of cool and I took it to heart, but I didn't really like do anything with it. And then I want to say 2 or 3 years later, I had a dream and it was me and my mom.
Love
And
those.
we were in this like nursing home and there was this creepy alien like in between us. And I knew in my dream that it could hear me, but it couldn't see me. And it had like this
Mm.
big drooping head and like these big black eyes. And it was like,
Like something you like couldn't ever get
yeah,
out
it
of your
like
head
kept
again.
making this weird, creepy clicking noises and like rubbing its fingernails together. And so me and my mom were freaking out because we were like, we need to draw it away from this nursing home because you could hear like the beeps like coming from their machines.
Yeah.
And so I was calling from one end and then she would call from the other end. So we were like playing like monkey in the middle with this alien and we finally like got it to get out and we got enough of them like in this Jeep and drove away. And I like when I woke up, I this is so stupid, but there was a carnival like not very far from my house. And I ran past it, and there was this kid with curly hair, kind of reminded me of Evan Peters, and he was working a game booth, and in his game booth were green aliens, like those big blow up ones. And I
Oh
thought,
yeah, yeah.
what if it's a traveling carnival, and instead of it being me and my mom, it's a girl and a guy, and I change it to her having these premonitions about these
Yeah.
aliens, and then that's how it. As stupid
And
as
you
it
just
is,
get it out of your head.
that was the first book. It was cliche and
Yeah.
everything. Started with a dream. It didn't do well at all.
Yeah,
But
but it was something that like really that's the whole thing of writing is it's something these stories are something you can't get out of your head. And sometimes it
yeah,
can be something as simple, not even a whole story, but for me, it'll be a character. Like for example, my short stories with the siren, um, she's just a character that has been with me for years and
right.
years. And I love her and she's been through so much and she's like this really just almost like sometimes when you read her story, you're gonna be like, oh, she's a villain, like
Right.
she's awful or something, like that kind of stuff. And then other times you're gonna like almost pity her, and feel
Right.
bad and really um so I've had her in all different situations because she was just a character that I loved so much and like just I don't know, maybe it came because you were talking dreams. I often have dreams that will help me with writer's blocks
Yeah.
or even like being like, this is how I should start the story. Or like, since I'm a pantser, I know my major plot points and I know like what certain things and that characters are going to be doing. But like sometimes I'm like, how is this connected? Where can I find those connections and stuff? Where's
Yeah,
this
I do
break?
that too.
And it'll
Where
come often in a dream
yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, I love
So
dreams.
what started your writing? What was your journey?
I think I've just always been kind of a creative, imaginative thinker my entire
Same.
life.
Yeah.
And I've always like even when I was little, I had a lot of friends and I was very the type of kid that was like I was like super hyper and the
Mm.
type of kid who made friends pretty easy.
Yeah.
But I always liked the people in my head, the stories
Yeah.
that I made
Oh
up
yeah, I
in
was
my
always
head.
in my
I loved it.
imagination. Yeah, my
Yeah.
mom would always say, "Stacey, your head's always in the clouds." That
Yeah.
was like
I
always
feel like I just made myself sound very
no, not at all
not
because I mean
not
literally escapism. That's what it was for me when I was younger. Not that like my mom did anything, but like I went through trauma as a child
mhm.
and I used escapism a lot. Like I would just make these worlds where they were like my safe worlds with my
Right.
characters that I knew I could trust. And I would, especially like right before bedtime, I would create this whole like scene and scenario where I had these friends and like because I
Yeah.
was not the kid that had friends. So I really was the kid with all her friends in her head. So you don't
Well,
sound crazy at all.
well, I think so. I mean, I come like a big family, and then like my mom and dad always had friends with it, but I was always like the younger one though too
Yeah.
within those families, and they were mostly boys. It wasn't. I didn't. I had my girl friends, but when we were doing like family things, it was or like with those individual friends, I was often the only girl, the younger one, the one that's tagging along, that kind of thing. And so I think in my head, it was always more fun. Like, I'm going to grab a piece of paper, or like when I got a little bit older, there was like paint and stuff that you could like draw things and make stories with
Right.
on the computer. And so I just literally always loved writing stories. And then, like, with my friends later on, I remember specifically it was either third or fourth grade. But we had this one teacher where I don't remember how often we got to do it, but it was you could do your own creative writing, write your stories, and then if you felt like it on a Friday, you could share your stories. I remember that was like my favorite thing. And I wrote this story about me and a couple of friends being in the Olympics together, and we all had like different things. And I couldn't wait to get up and be like, here's my story or this is what I wrote and stuff. So it's always been a part of me. Cause then I did like in sixth or seventh grade, I did for our newspaper here in town a little program, like a summer long program that I loved, and I wrote for that. And I took all the writing classes in school, in high school, and it was something that I always felt really like when it comes to math, I will never get math. It will always be like this weird,
Same.
twisted language that I will never be able to calculate. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And but when it came to writing and reading and even history, because all history really is writing and reading and learning that kind of stuff, soaking it in your head. I always felt like history was kind of like a creative writing. You know what I mean? It was just
Yeah.
like this tall tale, but it's real stories.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
sure.
so that was easy to me. That was interesting, easy, and stuff. Not that, like we've already established, writing is not easy, but
Well, no.
it's fun. It's so much fun to just like
It really is. That's what, like,
create.
when I went to criminal, I forgot to add this part, but when I was in for criminal justice, I was writing all of those essays, like, for all of my classes, and I literally enjoyed it. And I was telling my husband, like, I was like, I think I'm going to change my major to English Lit because I just enjoy doing this so much. Like, I would just shut myself in my room and spend 5 to 6 hours on all these different essays that I had to write. And I really enjoy, I mean, I got pregnant and put on bed rest, so nothing happened with college. I just dropped out. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I agree
same.
with you. Writing,
I
I
didn't finish.
enjoy writing. Like, I feel like you have to enjoy it somewhat in order to be able to sit down and write. I mean, I don't write much more than 50,000 words. And I know there's people that write hundreds,
Yeah, but
100,000,
that
200,000,
doesn't.
but
Yeah, that doesn't matter because you pump books out like really really quickly and
right.
great. And so it's not about it doesn't matter how thick your books are or big your books are. You are doing really well, and I really really think you found your your niche.
Yeah.
Like
Well, thank
I
you. I enjoy
I
it. I really do. I mean, eventually I'll probably end up writing longer books, maybe. But I mean, that would have to be with a team because I could not imagine trying to edit 400,000 words
a lot of
with
yeah,
just
a
me and my
lot.
husband. But I mean, I know there's people that do it and they spend like years doing it, and that's awesome. But I just
Yeah,
I will eventually,
it's a lot.
maybe.
Yeah.
When I get stronger too as a writer. Like right now, I'm just trying to keep myself going. You know what I mean? Like improve.
Yeah, but I feel like your books are perfect. I really do. Like your like dark side. I loved it. There was a really strong beginning, a really great and spicy middle, and then a shocking end. It
Yeah.
was perfect. It didn't need to be any longer
Well,
and stuff.
thank you. I
Kind of,
appreciate that.
yeah. Like I said, I'll always hype your books.
I know
I
you
love
always do. I can't wait till yours are out so I can do to return the favor because I am in love with your writing style. And I'm going to listen, like when you start posting on Kindle, I say it,
however we say it.
novella, Vella, Kindle. That's how I have to novella. That's how I have to like correct myself. But when you start posting on there, I'm gonna read those. Like I'm using my tokens to read your
Oh,
story.
you don't have to
No,
do
I
that.
want to. I do. I want to. And I want to support you as well because I love your writing. Like, absolutely live for it. Like, when you told me that you had the new chapters up, I was like, there. I was like on Google Docs because,
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Well, that's why I mean, it's still super we talked about this the other day. It's super awkward for me because I am like I said, I felt like fantasy was always nerdy, so then I never really shared. I wrote all these stories. By the time I was in high school, I really hid that part of me, and like I was always kind of called like the dumb friend.
oh. Hold on, you froze for a minute. The dumb friend. You are not the dumb friend.
I know, but that's what like that was kind of my persona, I guess. And I hate like I kind of went into that and fell into that category, and so I kind of hid a lot of my my stuff. I didn't want to be
Right.
like, I know I really love nerdy fantasy and I want to wear
Yeah.
elf ears. Like now it's funny because I'm like I'm
Yeah.
35 and I don't care. I want to go to a Renaissance fair. I want to wear elf ears.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I get what you mean.
and I'm like happy to share the fantasy worlds that I create now. But it's just
You are
taken me a
so
long
good at that too, though. You are, I think one of your like the coolest things about your writing style is that you're really good at giving description without it being overwhelming. I seen a meme today that said it was like the guy walking up the stairs and it said a really long description dialogue and like he was like stretching his foot to the
time.
dialogue like but like you
Yeah.
are really good at like as you intertwine the scene with the dialogue, it's enough that you don't feel like you feel like you're there, but you don't feel overwhelmed with description. And I think
Well,
that's like one of the biggest things to master, honestly, because as an indie author, you don't want to write a real like you don't want to have no description, but you don't want to write a lengthy description
yeah, where
to
that's
where
like,
people just set it down and they're like, well, you know, whatever,
yeah.
I'll read that
Well,
later
that's
maybe.
it.
But
Because
you
it is like I feel like all, and again, I don't want to speak for other people, but when you are creating a world, a whole different world, um, it is like I feel like you can't just throw everything. Something there has to be a little mystery, and or as things get expanded,
yeah.
as they travel, or as other places get brought up, then kind of explain a little bit, you
Yeah.
know. And there's some things like with my the one you're specifically talking about, there's some like dark factors.
Oh,
So
I
like
love it.
it has like
It
few things
literally
have
takes
to be
you to like
sorted out
this
there.
medieval, like dark type feeling. And like when you're in the forest, I won't give any spoilers away, but oh, I just love like the world that you built in it. Because as soon as it's so cool because as soon as I read your book, like I'm in that world. Like it's not like where some books that you read and you have to like really think about it and close your eyes to get yourself there. And I'm
And
not
feel
just saying that because like I said, like I'm not trying to be mean, but I won't ever say anything offensive to anybody, or maybe I might on accident. But like usually if I think something's okay, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, it was really good." Or like I was telling you the other day, if somebody shows me their boyfriend that I don't really think is cute, I'll say, "Oh, I really like his hat. That's a cool shirt he's wearing." So like
yeah.
I wouldn't just sit here and hype you up and be like, "Oh wow, that's a really good book," if I like didn't really feel it. But I just like when I read your book, like the first few sentences, like I won't give too much away, but I was in that dark castle and I just felt everything, like the rich velvets and the it just was it's magical.
Well,
And not
thank you.
very many people can do that. Like I am not a descriptive author. And I will admit to that. Like I will describe a person or like like what it feels like in a certain area or what something smells like, but like I won't go into like great depths of something, especially if like it's a high school.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like,
Well,
oh,
it's like
I'm
just
at my
sometimes.
maroon locker. Because I feel like you know what a high school looks like.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think I said this to you the other day, where like yours are set in the real world, so you need more descriptions about the person, the characteristics,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
that's true
maybe what
too.
they're
It's a
seeing or
difference of
feeling.
fantasy and yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
I
I
mean
just
that
think
like
you're really
your descriptions you're amazing. You have that down.
well. Well, thanks. Well,
Welcome.
I think you're very good. Like I feel like we could probably sit here and hype each other up this entire time.
We forget that there's an audience.
You're
Sorry,
super
guys.
good. I know. You're super good at the characters. Like you had one girl, but multiple guys, and every single one of those guys, you didn't even have to say their names to be like, this person said that or this person. You just knew by the way they were talking, like who it was.
I
So you're very
appreciate
good at
that
that.
because as the person that wrote it, you really start to feel like, are they flat?
Mm.
Like
Is
I
there
started
enough
to ask my
difference?
husband, I was like, are they just there to be there? Like I felt like AJ didn't bring anything to the table. I was
But
like,
I
is
told you he
I
was
was like,
not anyone.
I was
You
like, is
needed
AJ a plain bagel? I was like, do I need to get rid of AJ?
No,
And my
because
husband
he
was like,
literally every time was funny. Every
yeah,
time.
my
Even
husband was
like
like,
in serious moments.
yeah, he was like, no, you need him because he's like, he not only does he bring reason, because he was like, listen, Emery doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Okay. He's like, you got Emery who doesn't really talk. And then you got Edward who isn't afraid to stand up to Ash. So you need a middleman that's going to come in and be like, all right, listen, we all need to
Yeah.
just calm down and chill. We're all responsible for this and let's just think about things before we do them. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, that makes sense. I
Yeah.
guess
No,
he can
they're
stay.
brilliant. I love your characters. I just will always, like I said, we could probably hype each other on for
Yeah.
forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I love Darkseid, and I encourage anybody who, if anyone ever listens to us, I encourage them to pick up Darkseid because
Well, I
it is
appreciate
so
it.
good.
I am
It
gonna
is
put it.
so good.
I think April 11th it comes off of Kindle Unlimited, and when it does, I'm gonna put it on Inkit for free.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
figured then that way, some people that have read Big Bad Wolf, if they want to read Darkseid,
Yep.
because it won't affect that, and then they can read Demons when it comes out. But I will not put Demons on Inkit. So if anyone's listening to this, like, she better not release that before it comes out. Like to me, no, I won't
Yeah.
do that. But yeah, I was thinking about that. Might be something cool to do.
Yeah. And
But
maybe once we're both on, because, yeah, so you can find her story on Inkit too. I'm
Mhm.
sure we can somehow,
And
we're all new to
Amazon.
this. If you can't tell,
We'll
we're
link it down
brand new.
below. Does that sound professional?
Is
We'll
that what
link it
we
in the
say?
description. I'll put my Amazon page there. No, I'm kidding.
Just every single one of
Make
our links.
I feel so bad like I'm making it about me, but I'm not. I'm just talking about writing because I mean, mother fiction
Right.
writers,
Well,
right?
and that's what we're here. We want to talk about books, and I can't wait to have other people on too. I think that's going to be a lot of fun,
Yeah,
uh, and stuff. And and like, I think what's going to be really fun between me and you is I am 100% a newbie. I think we've established that. If anyone did just listen to what I just rambled about, I have been afraid to share my stuff. So I haven't published anything. There was a time where I wrote for on Wattpad or whatever for a little bit, but it was very minimal and not often. And it was more for myself.
right.
It was really when I started getting to be like I want to do it was around like 30, so 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Something like that, maybe 29. I can't
right.
remember. Something like that. But
Well,
anyways, it was
it's
just
kind of scary, right?
yeah.
Because that's like one of the reasons why after I had published Odd Affairs and they were all out, I added sex scenes.
Mhm.
And I come from a church. I have a lot of healing to do from the church that I attended. Deep brainwash trauma with the church. And I felt guilty for
Mhm.
writing my sex scenes, which I'm sure is hilarious now that you've read Dark Side. But I felt so guilty for writing those scenes, and it kind of like hindered my writing. And I'm not saying that people that follow Jesus or that have a relationship with him are bad or anything. I'm just saying
Right.
for me, the church I came from instilled that like you should abstain from sex and stay a virgin until you get married, and that like there was a big stigma that sex was bad, right?
Mhm.
I think
Right.
that's no secret when it comes to the church. And I just felt like, well, I don't want to write if I can't write my true self because my writing is my healing.
Right.
I
Oh
I
yeah.
heal through my writing because I have, like I said, I won't say who or anything like that, but I have experienced childhood trauma
Mhm.
and it helps me heal.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, if I can't express myself through my writing like I want to, then I'm just not going to write.
Right.
And then
Oh
I
yeah.
tried I tried it with Freeing Finn without sex, and I don't have to have sex in it. And Freeing Finn was okay, but like there was so much stress that went with that book that it was just kind of, but when Dark Side came out, I was like, as soon as I started to heal myself from the church and like just accepting
Well,
myself, saying that sex isn't bad and that it's okay, I was like, I'm gonna let my freak flag fly.
yeah. Well, and look at how much.
I,
So I've said this to you how your writing just really like jumped up so many levels. Like it was almost like it could be a confidence boost, but I now, especially listening to you like say that, I can hear that that was put, it was because all of a sudden your heart was really in it. Like
Yeah.
this is what I want to write. This is me really writing and stuff. And I love that because I am 1000% the first person that will say writing and writers write because it's healing and it's therapy and whether it's just therapeutic to escape like an awful job, you know what I
Right.
mean? Or like
Yeah.
a mundane
Yeah.
life or something, you know? Or
Yes.
if it is trauma, because there's a reason why I write sex positive women and all that kind of stuff too. And I'm not afraid to like I was talking to my mom earlier, like, yeah, there's sex in my books, but you shouldn't be like surprised about that because I tend to make silly
Right.
jokes about sexual
Yeah.
stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I try to do it tasteful in my books too, but there's also going to be times where it's like, wham, here's
Oh
this
yeah.
in
I'm
here,
not very
you know?
tasteful. Okay, so listen, though, Dark Side was raunchy, right? I mean, we all
I
know that.
loved
Dark Side
it
was
though.
raunchy.
I loved it.
But that was more of like Cass healing
Yeah,
herself.
she
And
was
that was
healed.
like, and I was
Yeah.
kind of healing with her. So that was what that was about. But in Enemy, their sex is a little bit more like he pushed it like into her entrance. He lined himself up.
A little nicer
Wasn't
word.
so much, yeah, the COCK and all that. I don't know what I can and can't say, but yeah, like that one was a little bit. Well, there was a shower scene that was a little raunchy. Hold on. Well, you know what?
You know what? But they're fun to write too. And I get
They
why
are.
some people
It,
don't write
some,
them, and I get why people don't read them. And that's
yeah,
fine.
you have
That
to
is
be in the mood
fine.
to write them too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you have to like pump yourself up for it, because
Right.
like because I do. I'm not trying to, but like one of my things is like when the guy talks dirty.
Yeah.
So like I really want that guy to be saying all that juicy stuff, Like I want him to be, so like I really have to get in that mindset of that character so
Right.
it doesn't come across cheesy.
Right.
Like how I was
Cheesy,
telling
or even because even if you're writing like something maybe a little bit scandalous, a little bit scandalous, that's not a word.
Scandal.
Scandalous.
I know when I was saying escapism, I was like, is that right,
Yeah.
Stacey? 'Cause-
No. That's what we write them. We don't say them out loud.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, but even like there's times where you're getting to that point where you're like it's getting there and stuff, but it's I don't remember what I was saying. Anyways, we'll
No, I know
digress.
what you mean. Like I also will have like I will have a scene geared up for sex and then it doesn't, like my character turns it down. Because my
Yeah,
characters have
yeah.
like they have, I know it
I
sounds crazy, but they have their own minds.
Oh,
And
they
I can
do.
tell you this, there's a scene in Enemy where this teacher, and I won't say who so then it doesn't spoil anything, but this teacher tries to seduce one of the students. And it's not as creepy as it sounds because of the age of the student. Like you'll if you read it, you'll know. But like in the book, I was like ready to write the sex scene because I'm like, this character is going to go along with it. I just know it. And so she like even gets in the back seat for this conversation and she like undoes her dress. And the character's like, no.
Yeah, like
He's like,
wait,
no.
stop
He's
it.
like, he was like, that's gross. Like he
That's
was even
a lot.
mean about it. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm not writing this sex scene.
That
And
is
then
so
she's just
funny.
pissed.
That,
She was like, get out. And like he gets out of the car and then she just, gets back in this and drives off. But like
yeah. You
I
know
like
what?
had it all set up for it and it just my
Yeah.
character was not feeling it.
It
He
is
was like,
funny because there's so much stuff that is like that. Like, for example, one of the scenes that you wrote today, it was supposed to be a certain other king. Here I'm trying to be like the king.
yeah,
But anyways, there was a part that I specifically in my head had for one character.
uh-huh.
But then when I actually wrote it, it was like trying to just it was like nitpicky, like it was not coming out right. I
Hmm.
was like, this is not how this is gonna go or this should go. And then I tried it with the other character, and I was like, this is 100% what should be happening. This sounds so better. It's like they knew they're like,
Yeah,
this is not my part. This is his
right.
part. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny how your characters develop a mind, and people that don't write don't understand. Like my husband will look at me and he supports me in everything and helps me
How are
edit.
they talking to
But
you?
when I tell him that, like, I'll be like, I wasn't planning on them to fight. And my husband will be like, okay.
They
I'm
just
like,
told me they
listen,
wanted to.
they have their
I
own
do.
mind. That's just, they
Yeah.
get mad at each other for things. And like sometimes I have to go back to something and read it and be like, okay, is this argument valid?
Yeah.
But usually it is, because they know why they're upset. Like your characters, they just have their own.
Well, it's almost like, and I guess what we could even go deeper into like our own brains, I guess. But I feel like it's not specifically, oh, the characters are really telling us this, but it's like our mind subconsciously already knew like this would work better. This
Yeah.
works. Like this is where the character is going to take this part of the story, and it's going to fix all that stuff
Or
you have.
sometimes like I'll have a character like in this book, and I won't say who, but the book that's coming out in April, Disappeared. I had this character that I really loved, and they betrayed me. Like
Oh yeah, you
betrayed
were talking
me.
about that. Yeah,
Like I trusted this
like
character, and I was
how dare
like,
you do that?
but then like when it was over, I was like, okay, there's a reason for everything and it's fine. It's gonna be fine. But like
Right.
while it was happening, I was shocked. I
Yeah.
was like, hold on now, wait a minute. Like
Yeah. Well, I think I've also like I kind of explained to you like the reason why. So I've got this first draft done, but I completely changed it. I took things off, but it was more like the characters themselves were like, this is too boring for us. This is
right,
not how I would act. I don't like this, especially my female character, because she is definitely one who can. I always say she's bold. That's
right.
like how I would describe her because she's still like an innocent, she's kind of that innocent maiden kind of a thing, I guess, or like if you think of like medieval times, she has that vibe about her,
Right.
but she is way bolder than I first wrote her. Like it's one thing to just say that a person is bold, but
But
another
you
thing
have to
to
show
actually
it.
change.
Yeah. Yes.
And
I
so that was the big difference. So like in this second draft, as I'm making all these big changes and like redoing whole chapters, it is coming, it's like almost she's taken over and she's like, no, this is what I would actually do, this is how I would treat this situation,
right. Right.
and stuff.
Well, it's
And
like
so it is
when I
working.
was editing Dark Side, I was going through Cass and Ash's dialogues and like things separately. And I was like, they have a lot of similarities. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change it. And I could just hear my characters are like, no, don't. We're the same.
Yeah,
Like
like
we're
this
the
works.
same. Like we want that connection. Like don't take that
Yeah,
away from us. Like I and then like when I read it again, I was like, okay, I do kind of like that Ash and Cass are on the same. Well, and it was just supposed to be them two
yeah,
as well. So like they are like, of course, everyone. I love all of them. They're all amazing, all of the characters. But Cass and Ash are like cut from the same cloth. And I
yeah.
think that's
It
apparent
does,
from
it does
her
work really
her
well.
fight scene, and then he goes to the warehouse and fights. So I mean, it kind of shows that they both have that bloodlust.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and they also come from not really necessarily the same background, but they kind of were put into these situations in a
yeah,
similar kind of way. Like
yeah,
without their it wasn't their choice kind of a thing.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I like
Yep,
that you did that. I like that dynamic. I like that they're super similar in that stuff.
yeah.
Um,
uh, I get.
but yeah. I don't know if I had any more questions. Did you have
Yeah,
any
I
more?
don't think I do either. No,
Yeah.
we could ask everybody to ask us questions, like
Yeah,
what
give
they would
us
like to know next
questions.
time. Like if they have topics that they want to talk about. If you guys stayed around this
Yeah,
long, you're
if
amazing.
anyone is still
If
here,
you're if you're still listening, drop us an emoji down below so we
if
know.
anyone was ever here.
But if you have any questions for us, or if there's things that you would like to know, or things you would like us to talk about,
Hmm.
we're not shy. We'll talk about anything.
No, yeah, try too
Yeah, oh
much.
yeah.
No, No, that would be super fun. I would love that because I think how we kind of, and I guess people can let us know too how they feel about this. But I think what we kind of want to do is twice a month.
Yeah.
You can listen to us and chat with us. But I think what we want to do is like once. So if it's 2 times a month, one of those times it's just us kind of chatting. And sometimes we'll do a buddy read where then we'll be like, we have this book we want to talk about, and
Yeah.
maybe people can even join us with that. Like this is all a major work in progress as well for us,
Yes. We're all
along with
learning.
our other work in
Along
progresses.
with my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle friends.
Yep, they're here. My cat's here. You can't see him, but he's
I was
sitting.
like, when I put this up, I was like, wow, I'm a nerd. But it's
No, I
okay.
love it.
I embrace it.
I put my crowns up
I love your
intentionally.
crowns. They're so beautiful. I need to get one. I don't know where I would put it, but
No,
I need
I
one.
love them. I love them so much.
But
They get me in my headspace for my
yeah,
fantasy writing, castle writing, I guess.
I could just picture you like at your computer in the morning with your crown on and your coffee and just
Actually, I
right
do kind
where
of like my videos. How my videos I'll like pan out and
I
have like
love I love your videos.
I will
I need to get
intentionally.
better. I need to get better at recording myself for TikTok because I just or for Reels because I've just kind of like turned into this like little show where I just want to advertise my books and that's not a way to connect with readers. It just isn't. Like it's lazy and I'll admit it. I'll be the first to admit it. Like here's a couple pictures of some
Though
here's a
it's
couple pictures of some hot guys and then a book cover. Is it selling itself or what, guys? But
no, it's draining though.
but
Like I'm sure we can probably do this. We can do this for another thing, and we can even bring someone on because I guess that's what I. If you haven't noticed, I can be very spacey with the way that I talk.
I
Sometimes
can too.
I get off
I used
topic,
to be
but
called Spacey Stacy, so
uh,
it's cool. Yeah.
okay. I was the dumb friend. So,
Cut
but
the
no,
same
I would
cloth.
like I would like us, yeah, to have like our talk, but then we eventually want to
Bring
bring out
people.
like next time we might have somebody else. I've
Yes.
talked to a few people already.
And I want to say
Um,
that if you're an indie author and you want us, if you want to be on the show with us because we're so cool and great,
right. Mhm. We all know
just let us
we
know
want to be
because,
on. Yeah.
yeah, we would love to. I mean, I love hyping people up. And can I be like completely honest? I mostly read indie authors. That's
Yep.
like
I
that's
do too.
my, so yeah, if you've got books coming out, let me know
Yeah.
because, yeah, we'll read them,
And we
talk
just
about
like
them.
to get to know and make connections, and
Hmm.
that's one of my favorite thing about the Bookstagram community. I haven't made the jump to TikTok yet. I'm a
Yeah,
little bit scared of it,
right.
but eventually I will. But I love the Bookstagram community because I've met so many people. I love getting to know people. I love all of our differences. So just because we write spice or write those kind of books and stuff, or I write fantasy, she writes dark romance, we would love to have anybody on here because I love getting to know why people write and why they read and stuff. So yeah, we'd love to have you.
Same. I had to mute my mic because there's like commotion going on. But yes, I agree. I think it would be great and cool. And I know that this is probably awkward, but it won't be
We
as awkward. And we won't talk about ourselves every time. Okay. Like this was just our,
I know this was just supposed to
this
be
was
like
just
an
like getting to
intro.
know us.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Which
it
I have
won't.
a
And
really
it's
hard
like
time doing. Like I have a hard time talking about myself. I mean, it probably doesn't seem that way since I did it through the whole podcast. But normally,
well, but I hope it comes across that we are genuinely friends too.
yeah,
Like this
oh
isn't
yeah.
something we just decided
We're
to
just hanging
do.
out.
Just, I just met you. Like
Yeah.
we legit have talked to each other for over 2 years. One of my first friends on the Bookstagram community,
Yep.
like legit friend. So I'm so excited to do this. Yes, this
Too.
is. I apologize for the first. Don't give up on us, I guess, because this
Yeah.
is super choppy and super. We were like, this is gonna be awkward this first time, but we'll get used to it.
Yeah, we will.
It'll be fun.
And you know what? Maybe it'll be like releasing a book. Maybe we'll have 2 or 3 viewers this time and then the next time it'll just
Just keep
increase as we
spreading.
go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
keep going. and we'll get
We gotta
better.
put something out there. We can't be podcasters that just talk about podcasting and then never podcasting.
Like, oh, we're just
We have a
kidding.
channel. It's
We're not
coming.
really. Eventually,
It's
yeah.
coming.
No,
Don't worry about it.
yeah. This will be. I guess it doesn't matter. I could say this March 31st, but I that by then. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Well, I guess we're gonna.
I think we did it.
Yeah. So bye. I don't know if I'm supposed to say bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate you.